Hello and welcome to the fourth in this series of instructional videos all about building reports using Westbury's SMI suite. In the first three parts we covered the nuts and bolts of building reports, and this time we're going to look at something slightly different. We're going to look at scheduling and publishing. Now, scheduling and publishing is all about getting your report to your audience. So if you imagine that you've built a report for your boss and it's showing the information from last week, so you've entered in a date range to filter your report by because he wants to know how the work groups were performing last week. Well, that's fine, but then next week, sure as apples is apples, your boss is going to come back and say, well, I need that report again for last week now. And you might think that that would require a lot of intervention on your part, but actually it's dead simple, and we're going to set up a report so that all of that is taken care of automatically with nothing required from you. Sounds too good to be true, I know, a bit like David Beckham being able to form coherent sentences, but actually it is really simple. Okay, well, let's dive straight. Start that again. Let's dive straight in, and what we need to do first is edit our query. So here is the report that I built last time, the building layers of complexity report with all the information about countable time and work group workload. So let's dive in and edit that query. Now, if you remember last time, I didn't actually filter this report by any date range. It was just returning all of the information from the database. But what we want to use here is one of the built-in filters that comes with SMI Suite that allows you to look at relative dates. So rather than saying I only want to return results between date A and date B, what these allow you to do is to make that date range relative to the date on which you are refreshing the report. So today is Friday, and I might want to say that I want to return all the results from last week. And you're not saying what those dates are for last week, merely that it's last week in relation to today's date. Very clever. So we're going to look at this instant time period open date filter, and let's say this is built into SMI Suite. Makes it dead easy. So I'm just going to drag and drop that across to my query filters pane. And you remember if you use the query filters and you filter by an object, then it brings up all sorts of options here, but because this is a built-in filter, you don't get those, but we will get those in a second when we hit run query. That's going to bring up a pick list. And you'll see here there are lots of functions all to do with time periods relative to today's date. And what we're going to do for the purpose of this one is we're going to say, well, let's look at last week. So whether I refresh this report on Monday or on a Friday, it's going to look at the previous week. So let's choose the previous week to date, and let's add that across and hit run query. And there we go. There's the report, and it's been refreshed with the data from the previous week. And if I were to come back in 3 weeks' time and refresh the report again, it would give me a new set of data because it would be looking at the data from the previous week from 3 weeks' time's point of view. Now, this is all well and good, but you're still thinking, I know, that, well, come next Monday, my boss is going to ask for the report again. I'm going to have to come in, refresh the report, and get it to him. Well, not at all, because what we're going to do is schedule this report. And this is dead simple. So we're going to go into File, Export to CMS, and I'm going to export this report to the repository, that's the CMS, and I'm going to save it in the Tom's Reports folder. So I'm just going to hit Export. It's going to think about it for a moment, and eventually, there we go, export successful. Now we can close out of here and go into a different program, which is InfoView. This is our scheduling software. So there we go, there's our public folders, and there's Tom's Reports folders. Nothing in it at the moment because I just need to refresh. So it sees that report I just exported. There we go, building complexity. And you'll see there's nothing under last run because it hasn't been scheduled yet. So I need to right click, hit schedule, and it's going to bring up my options. I can rename the report if I want. It brings up the name that you saved the report as. But if you didn't save the report, if you just built it and then immediately went to export it, you could change the title there. Now, recurrence is where it gets really interesting, because we can choose to run this report every week. So you don't need to go in and refresh it. The scheduling is going to pull up that report, refresh it, and of course, because of the relative dates, it's going to bring in new data for that. So let's recur that on a, is that a verb, recur? I don't know. Anyway, let's run this report every Monday, and we can specify the start date and end date, and that's nothing to do with the weekly scheduling. That's for how long it's going to carry on doing this every week on a Monday. So by default it gives you 10 years, which should be fine for us. We're going to ignore prompts because we don't have any prompts in our reports. We could, rather than using the relative date filters, we could add in a prompt there so that you specify that you want to filter by a range of dates, but you don't say what those dates are, so that when this report refreshes, it brings up a prompt asking whoever's looking at it to enter those dates. But that's kind of a cumbersome way to do it. We're going to use this more sophisticated way. Now the next important thing is formats and destinations. So we can choose our output format, and I'm going to have this as an Adobe Acrobat, so a PDF document. You could also have it just as in the raw format of the Web Intelligence document or as an Excel sheet. I'm going to choose PDF just to make it universal and easy to view. And you can specify where you want this report to pop up. So actually I'm going to have it as a, let's see, in a file location. If I click on here, I can specify my file location. By default it brings up this use job servers defaults, but if you uncheck that, it allows you to specify your directory. So I'm going to say C users administrator desktop. There we go. I mean, this could be anywhere. This could be a network drive. This could be anywhere on your network. File name I'm going to leave is automatically generated, but you can again change that. And if you do have a username and password for the drive that you're adding this to, you need to enter those there. And that's it. You're done. Click schedule. And again, it's going to think about it for a moment, but essentially we're done. And what that is going to do is run that report every Monday. It's going to refresh the report with data from the previous week, and it's going to write that to a PDF file on a network location. So you have built the report, you've scheduled the report, and you just need to tell your boss where it's going to be every Monday, and you can forget about it. If you really want to, you can pretend like you have to do loads of work every Monday morning and earn some brownie points. That's entirely up to you. That's it for this time. Next time, I don't know what we're going to be looking at. I haven't decided yet, so it's a bit of a mystery. Ooh, excitement. But do join us next time when we'll have some more interesting, fascinating, and frankly entertaining instructional videos on building reports. See you then.